scheme. FOI 4065. So one of the documents released is possible Senate estimates questions on Treasury's modelling of the 5% deposit scheme. Document 14. So what is this? Is this a dress rehearsal preparation you do for Senate estimates?
So, Senator, that document that you referred to was just a back pocket briefing note that was put together that was designed to help officials respond to any questions that might have been put about the modelling that was done in relation to the scheme.
Surely they have their own capacity to answer the questions.
Well, I think, Senator, I think it's important to put the context in which this particular document was prepared in that particular Senate estimates. You'll recall that was a Senate estimates in which you wrote to the department, I think, about 24 or 48 hours prior to the hearing, saying that you wanted to make sure that you wanted to discuss this. So in that particular case, we wanted to make sure we were prepared. So I did ask some folks to put together some material to make sure I didn't mislead you.
Okay, so it's not. Is this a usual thing that happens inside the Treasury, that you have pre-rehearsed questions and answers?
Well, I think it's not unusual within the Treasury that officials are briefed to be able to respond to the likely questions that they may receive.
Okay. It sounds a bit like the debate preparation they do in the US presidential elections.
I can't comment on that.
Well, did you play Trump?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, so fine. Okay, so who actually prepared this? Maybe don't tell me names. Like, which department did it?
It would have been staff within the Department of the Treasury.
Okay, and who was it given? Who's this for?
Well, I believe that this was back pocket briefing that would have been done for myself when I was answering your questions, I believe, on the 6th of November, from memory.
Okay. Do these things get given to the minister at the table?
This particular one, no. This would have been prepared purely...
So it's for you?
Yeah, to make sure I didn't mislead you for any question that you might have asked.
Yeah, okay. So what's happening with your role as an observer, Mr Rimmer? Are you still heading to the board meetings of Housing Australia?
I am, Senator. I was at one on Tuesday this week.
Okay. And so what was your role in that meeting?
My role was to be an observer, Senator.
Okay. And did you talk in the meeting?
I did a few times.
Okay. Were you asked questions?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. About?
About a range of matters. I mean, in general, the board undertake their obligations consistent with the Housing Australia Act, the investment mandate, the policy settings for different programs. From time to time, the board requests an opinion from me, advice from me about the policy settings that government has decided on particular measures, or about wider whole of Australian public service governance matters, including policy in general in relation to specialist investment vehicles, those kinds of matters, Senator.
And are you asked about your sort of political advice, or are you asked to give, a view that might be telegraphed to you via the Minister?
Senator, it's not my role to provide political advice to anyone.
So do you give... I mean, you talk to the Minister a lot. That was your evidence last time. So are you there to represent the Minister, or...?
Senator, I'm not there to represent anyone. I'm there to observe the board and to provide any assistance to the board that I can. Part of that role does involve assessing the direction that the government is taking on a particular issue, the direction that the Minister wishes to take on an issue, and if I can provide useful context and support to the board in understanding that, then I might from time to time do that, but it's certainly not the main purpose of the role.
How do you think the board's going?
I think the board is effective. I think it's no secret, Senator, that the board has had its moments, in the past. Some of those moments have become public in various forums. I think the board is on an upward trajectory. I think the acting chair is doing a fine job in corralling board member engagement and focus on delivering government policy objectives in accordance with the legislation and the other policy frameworks.
Okay. And Mr Tagney was appointed as the acting chair in about November, is that right?
That's right, Senator.
Okay. And what about the arrangements for appointing a permanent chair? Is that something that's done by the board or by the Treasury?
That's something that's done by the Minister.
The Minister does that, okay?
Yeah, following appropriate consultation within government as is normally the case.
Okay. So is there a panel of people is there a selection panel?
There is no selection panel established as yet on this program.
Okay, well, are you going to appoint a chair?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, when?
That's a matter for government.
Okay. So you would advise that there would be, I imagine, a recruitment agency or some sort of a service provider to assist in appointing a chair, or at least a panel of
Senator,
people?
as you know, in accordance with recently agreed government policy, there are 3 pathways for appointments of this kind. There's a direct appointment, there's a closed selection process, and there's an open advertised selection process, and the decision about which of those paths to pursue is one for the Minister, Senator.
And you don't have any sense of when that might be?
I have a sense that the Minister wishes that matter to be resolved quickly and appropriately. I believe Mr Tanguy's acting appointment expires in July of this year, so clearly there's a time limit established by that fact.
Okay, so when a decision is made on the appointment process, will that be publicly disclosed?
I mean, in the normal course of events, appointments tend to be disclosed at the point of their announcement,
okay.
Or otherwise through some Senate estimates process or FOI process otherwise, in other circumstances.
But your evidence is that the Minister hasn't decided whether to have a targeted process, an open process, whatever.
To my knowledge, Senator, the Minister hasn't currently made a formal decision about that matter. I think that's right.
Okay, that's very helpful. The governance issues that were canvassed in the intersection report, has the acting chair now been briefed on those issues? Because last time we heard evidence that he had not been briefed.
Senator, the acting chair is aware in general terms of the context of that report, which is now nearly, I believe, over 2 years old, close to 2 years old.
So, sorry, is that a yes or no?
Senator, my answer is my answer. The acting chair has been briefed.
He has been briefed
about a range of matters about past Housing Australia governance and performance.
Because the last estimates, he hadn't been briefed on that report. So he now has been.
Senator, you're blurring two concepts. The acting chair has not been briefed in detail by the people who did that report about that report.
I understand.
The acting chair has been briefed by me and by my colleagues about the general circumstances around Housing Australia before he joined the board. He's also been a member of the board for nearly a year, I believe, and so he has some awareness of the general board situation through that process.
And what about this Deloitte report? Who commissioned that Deloitte report?
Senator. I think what you're referring to is a report that was done for Housing Australia. It was commissioned by Housing Australia staff as part of what we call line 2 risk function. So we run a 3-line risk model. Yeah. Second line often undertakes work where we would engage people or sometimes perform internally an assurance type review. It was commissioned prior to my time, but my understanding is that we asked Deloitte, who supplied someone to be effectively within the organisation and did some work. It produced a report as part of a normal, ongoing second-line assurance process.
Okay, so these issues... Yeah, okay, so the last question on this line then is, so these issues about board governance, one commissioned by Housing Australia, one commissioned by the Treasury, they're now concluded?
Senator, with respect, I'm not sure that you could characterise the Deloitte report as a report about board governance, unless I'm incorrect about that. But both of those processes are now well in the past.